Hey guys, my name is Sanjay Raj and welcome back to a brand new video and a brand new React tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm gonna learn how to create a blog application using React. Okay, this is not just a normal, basic blog application. We're gonna implement React Redux for state management, just to store the state. So we are also gonna be implementing Google authentication, so we can dynamically render data only if the user is signed in and all those kind of stuff. So this is going to be, the UI base for the application. So this is going to be the home page. It's going to say the reader's favorite place, obviously, just a normal one. We've got an emoji here, and then I could click on login with Google. It will create a pop-up right here. It will automatically log me in, and as you guys can see, it will give me the image of the person who has actually logged in. Now this is not the image of not statically put in React. It actually takes the response and then puts in the image. We also got a logout. So as you guys can see, we can see blogs, and initially the search is tech, so you could see the search bar is also kind of good, I guess. So you could type Apple, search for it, it'll say loading. Once that's done, you'll get the news about Apple. You could also search about the M1 chip, which is the newest MacBook chip what they released. So that will also give you the news about M1 and kind of the transition from M1 and Microsoft and all those kind of stuff. You could also click on logout, which will log you out. So I just want to show you how the Redux stores all the data. So let me right click, open up the Redux DevTools. Let me open it right here. So let me maximize this, and right here if you see the state, so let me zoom in. If you go to the user, there is a state called is signed in, which basically is false when the user is logged out. So once the user logs in, it becomes true, so that we could check what are the data we want to display. And then this is the user data that is being returned to us from Google, so we can use this in order to check put the image, put the name, put whether you want to log out or log in, all those kind of stuff. And then we've got the given name, and all this stuff are coming from the response and search input. This is coming from the navbar component from the input. So as we type in different values and click on search, this is going to update. So if I just type USA for instance and click on search, you could say the search input is turned into USA, and you could see the last reducer being set input, then it's setting the block data. So what it's basically doing, so it's setting the input to USA. After that, it's firing up another reducer called set block data, which is making a request to the API and giving the search query as USA. So it basically has input then block data, input then block data. That is going to be how our application is going to be like. Okay, so this is going to be USA news, all those kind of stuff. You could log out, and we also are going to host this on Netlify, so a React application on Netlify, and with custom blog free. So that's pretty much it, guys. So I hope this is going to be a basic but a very complex, a good application for you guys. I hope this will be helpful. Also, the project will be on GitHub, so all the CSS I will not be focusing on it that much, but I'll be explaining how all those stuff works, so you could get a better insight on it. So let's get started. So I've got a basic React app here. So what I basically did, I give me a menu. So sorry guys, that was a different application. So I have opened up created a React application called blog app. So what I went and did, I opened up the terminal, I went into desktop, I just went into desktop, okay, and then I typed in npx create React app, and then I gave the name of the app blog app. Okay, you get the idea, right? So blog app, and then I left it gave all these folders. Now you could notice that I don't have the source folder here, so which I normally don't have, and I just deleted. We could start from scratch. Okay, so deleted the source folder, just delete it, src, and then we're gonna create a new folder called src. So in this we need two fundamental files. Okay, so index.js and app.js. Let me close that. First of all, in the index.js, we want to import React from React, and then we want to import React DOM. sorry, react DOM from react DOM, and then what you want to do, you want to render the app component. Okay, so react DOM dot render the app component. Now we have not yet defined or made a function for the app component, which we'll do right now. Get element by id for root, so it's going to go to the public folder, and there's an index.html and there's a div with the id root and all those kind of stuff. So you cut that, and here, so we have to create the app component. So usually you want to import react and they create a function, all those kind of stuff. No, so I have a extension, and a lot of developers have an extension called ES7 React Redux GraphQL React Native Snippets. So you could install this. There are over 2 million downloads, so obviously it's not fake. So you could just go ahead and type RAFCE, which is going to create the basic boilerplate for you. So here I'm going to give a class name of app, and I'll just give a h1 saying this is an app. Okay, so now we are pretty much done with the basic functionalities. Not the functionalities, basic file setup and all those kind of stuff. So let's start this server by saying npm start. Okay, so it's gonna take a while. I'll get back with you guys once this is done. So guys, the server is up and running. So until the server loads, let's install some of the dependencies that we are going to be using. So the server is done. Let me click on new terminal, and I'm gonna install some of the dependencies that we're going to be using, obviously. So first of all, we're going to install Redux, and we're going to use the toolkit, not the template. So npm I at redux.js/toolkit. You could also go to the website. They've got all the commands for you, so you could just basically download it. So this is downloading pretty fast, and once this is done, we'll be also installing React Redux and React Google Login, all those kind of stuff. So let's wait until this is done. Let's check if the server is up and running. Okay, the app is not defined. Let's go to index.js and go there, control space, and click on app. So that's gonna auto import it for you. So let's go check. Okay, this is an app. So I'll get back with you guys once this. So guys, now the Redux.js toolkit is installed. Now the next one we want to install is called React Redux. So that's gonna give us stuff like the provider and all those kind of stuff. So let's discuss that further, and we want to install React Redux. Okay, npm install React Redux. This would not take much time, and yeah, so that's done. After that, we want to install React Google Login. React Google Login. Now if you don't want to install all this kind of all of these packages, you could go ahead to the GitHub repository and get the package.json and just type npm install. You'll get all the packages. So where are we getting the React Google Login from? Okay, so we're getting that from here. 1 minute. React Google Login. Okay, so if you go and type React Google Login, so if you go to npmjs.com and search for React Google Login, so this is React Google Login, guys. So basically you'll get a component, and you could just pass in your client ID and all those kind of stuff, all those basic properties, and then you could get a Google sign in option. So that is pretty much easy. You could also render your custom button, all those kind of good stuff. You could log out, log in, and add some cookies and all those kind of stuff, which is really easy. So this is the command, so you could click on that and copy it. So it's not different from this, it's just replacing install with I. So if I just click on enter, it's gonna install React Google Login as well. So I guess yes, that's done. So first of all, what I would like to do is to first finish with state management. So Redux. Okay, inside of source, we will be creating a folder called app. Then inside of source, we'll also be creating a folder called features. So this features is gonna contain all the slices, basically the data layers, you could say, the store, you could say, and all those kind of stuff. Sorry guys. So all the app is going to contain the the main store. It's going to contain all the slices into one store. Okay, So if you have not watched my previous video on login system with Redux, that's a basic, a beginner's video. You could check that out if you have the time. But this will if you're able to understand what the process is, you will easily understand it. Okay, so inside of features, we will create a slice called user slice.js. So basically, user slice, we have all the information about the user. Okay, so only when there's a user, will be able to display the data that we want. So first of all, what we want to import, something called create slice from at Redux.js toolkit. And give me a minute, guys. Yes, so you want to import create slice from Redux.js toolkit, and it's going to be not a default export, so there's that. You want to wrap it inside brackets. So you should say const user slice, and that will create a slice for you. So create slice. Okay, that's going to be an object. So we're going to have multiple properties inside of it. First, we will give it a name. We'll give it a name of user, and we will initialize the initial state. Okay, initially, what is the state that we want it to have, and what is going to be the property that is going to assign it. Okay, so we want is signed in. So we want to check if the user is signed in. So currently, when the user lands on the website, he'll be logged out, or he wouldn't sign in. So that will be set to false, and user data will be set to null, because as the user is not signed in, we would not have any response or any data, and there's that. We'll set that to null. And search input, so here we want this to initially be tech. Okay, so search input basically means okay, let me go here, and I'll open up the website that was hosted on Netlify. So if I log in, you could see that initially it is tech, and I'm getting news about tech initially when I land on the page. So that is what we want to achieve here. Okay, so we want to achieve functionality such like once the user lands on a website, you could have some sort of data to be displaying. So you could put USA or any kind of stuff. So we also want to specify the block data. So this is going to be the result that we are going to be getting from an API. So that's pretty basic. After that, we want to say reducers. These are the reducers that we're going to use. So there are 4 reducers that we're going to be using. Okay, so I'll explain everything. Set signed in. So in the set signed in, we will get the state and the action, and here we will say state.isSignedIn will be equal to action.payload. So this pretty much means that if we call this reducer like this, so if we say set signed in, and inside of this we will pass the payload. So inside of this, if we say false, it's going to take the action and put it into the payload. So state.isSignedIn, so which is currently false. Okay, let me just change this to true. Which is currently false will be then set to true. So that's what we want to do here. Same is going to apply to every single reducer that we're going to be doing, but it's kind of different. So the data that we're going to input there, so we will say state and then the action. So just like that, we're going to say state.action will be equals to action.payload, and the same for set input. We want to take the state, which is the initial state. Okay, the state is not any hook or stuff, so we are taking the state. So this state is this. Okay, so not anything else from anywhere else. So here, same here, we want to say state.imp search input will be equals to action.payload, and set block data will be set block data will take a state and then the action, and just like that we'll just put a comma right there, so no errors. And state dot block data will be equal to action dot payload. So this is pretty much it. So payload means what the data is we're going to pass, that's going to be set to the state. That's it, guys. For that, now we want to export all this stuff. So exporting is pretty easy. First of all, we want to export all of the reducers. Okay, these are the actions that we want to perform, so we want to export all of them. So let's say export. We want to export this as const, so as a a constant variable, as a function. Okay, so we want to export set signed in first, and set user data, set input, set input, and then set block data. Okay, which is going to come from user slice dot action. So what we are performing here, so basically we want to call the function, right? In order to call the function, we are exporting all of this, and this is going to come from user slice dot action. So actions is basically just the reducers, but it's just a different name for it. I guess that is like that. So if you want any more further information, you could go to the Redux documentation and get it. And after that, we want to export the state. So we want to access the state, right? For some kind of functionality, obviously we want to access it. So the way we name it is, say you select and select signed in. You would understand why we put select as we go on and use this function. So that's going to have state, that's going to require the state in order to perform the function, and that's going to be state dot user dot is signed in. So we should put the user here instead of just state, because we want to specify from what function it's going to get. So state dot name, so name is going to be user, so that is going to come right here. Okay, so we want to export four states. So I just select shift and the down arrow key in order to duplicate that. So I'll say select user data. Basically select user data returns the user data state. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There's nothing complicated in this. So user data, and right after that select user input, and this is going to be the search input. After that it's going to be select block data, which is going to be equals to block data. So we have exported all of the variables. Once that's done, we just want to simply export the reducer, so the whole thing, just a whole slice and then the reducer. So that's going to be a default export. Okay, we don't want to perform any function or anything. It's just going to be a default export. Use a slice dot reducer. Okay guys, so the slice is finished. Now let's go to the app and create a new file called store.js, and we want to import something called, give me a minute, something called configure store from at Redux.js toolkit. And we also want to import the user reducer. Okay, what we exported, the default export from // which is in the features and user slice. Okay, the user reducer is just this one. Okay, we're just giving it a name called user reducers. We get the reducer from this particular file path. And then what we want to do, this is also going to be a default export. We don't want to perform any function with it. So configure store, you always want to specify the reducer as a parameter, and then you want to say user will be equal to user reducer. That's pretty much it. There's nothing complicated. Let's just cut off from both of this, and now let's go to index, and we want to, now obviously we have done all of the state management and all this kind of stuff. So if I go to the local host, if I refresh, should not crash. Server, okay, the server is not running, so let me just type npm start. So basically if we just check in our Redux dev tools, okay, right here, let me open it up for this, inspect, and yes, wait, for this, right, inspect, go to Redux, state, use signed in, wait, what is that? So guys, that was just another file running on a server, so that was not a problem. So if you go to Redux, you would just see no store found. This is because we did not wrap it around the index.js. We don't need to wrap it around index.js always. We're wrapping it around index.js now because we're rendering the main component, the app component right here. So we will import the provider. As I said, the provider is coming from React Redux, okay? And we're also going to import the store because that is where all of our stores lie. That's come from app/store. So I'll just control X, it's going to just cut it. I'll just put provider, that's going to be a component, put the app component inside of the provider, and I'm just going to give store equals store. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you refresh right now, it should work, and you could go see the state. Maximize this. You could go see the state as is sign in is false, all those kind of default stuff that we did put. So search input is also tech. That's pretty much done. Now let's work on so what shall we work? So guys, first of all, let's work on creating the component for the home page. So I'm gonna create a new folder called components and a new file called homepage.js. I'm just put RAFCE and I'm gonna give it a class of home _ page, so BEM format. Okay, so I've got a basic format here, so I'll just paste it in and I'll just explain how this works. It's got a div with a class of login _ message. So this is going to contain all the messages that we basically have. So paste it. So it's got an h2 with a book emoji, which we already saw, with an h1, and then with a p tag, the basic p tag. So right after that, now we want to start implementing Google authentication, because obviously, as you guys can see right here, let me open up the actual thing. So as you guys can see in a home page, we've got the emoji, all this kind of stuff. Then we've got the login with Google button. Now this is a custom button that we did. Usually Google does not give this, it gives its custom button. So we could make our custom button. So that's what we're going to do in this video as well, and that's what we're going to do now. So we want to implement first Google login. Okay, so let's get the Google login component. So that's going to auto import it for us. And for Google login, we want the client ID, which we'll just leave it for now, which we will do. So client ID will be blank for now, and we want to render a custom button. So it's gonna render, we could say render and render props. Now you do not need to worry about this. This is something that we get from Google, so you can just do it as it is. So you don't need to worry about what is the render prop. So if you are worried about it, you could do anything. You could go to the documentation, all this kind of stuff. So this is just from Google, so you could just leave it like that. So you want to specify an on click. So it's going to be render props dot on click. Why is it giving me an error? Oh, okay, wait. So we want to render a button first of all inside it. So I've got the custom button, which we are going to be using across the video. So it's a basic button. So inside of the button, we are going to specify on click render props dot on click. So this is a function that is passed on by the props that is rendered by Google, responded by Google. So disabled, once we log in, it's going to disable it. So the class name will be equals to login _ button. So we are going to customize it through the class name, and then the text is login with Google. And there are also some other stuff that we want to do. There is button text, but we don't want to put that button text because we already do have we already have a text, which is a custom button text, login with Google. Okay, so we want to say on success, sorry, where do I put it? Render right here. So I will say on success, I want to run function on success. Basically, after the Google has allowed the person to log in successfully, we want to run a function called login. Also on failure, we want to run a function called login. Basically login is gonna do nothing, but it's just gonna console.log the response. Okay, so we also want to set is signed in equals true. Basically this will make the user to sign in even after he has cut the home page, and access the home page even after he cuts the home page. So it's gonna basically store it as a cookie. So in order to do that, we need cookie policy, and this I'm gonna say single host origin. So this is basically gonna store it in your local storage. So that's basically it. Now if we go right here, if we refresh, should be able to see the Google login, which because we don't see it because we have not rendered it. So if we go to our app.js, just cut this, I'll just say home page. That's gonna auto import it for me. Login is not defined. Okay, so let's make the login component login function here. You could have it as different components, the login and the logout, but that's not required. So login will be equal to response, and we'll just for now console.log response. Okay, so you could see login with Google is currently disabled because we have not created the API key. So let's go ahead and create the API key. We'll go to console.cloud.google.com. So that's where you want to first go, and this is going to greet you to this normal dashboard. And first of all, give me a minute. So after you're here, first of all you want to create a new project, and you want to specify some names for a project. So we'll just say blog app YouTube. Okay, so no organization. I'll just create this, and then basic is we just want to create an API key. So we'll just go to credentials and OAuth client ID. So this is not an API key such as the map API key and all those kind of stuff. So I'm going to select my project, all projects, blog app YouTube. That's going to switch it to my current project that I'm making. So those are all the old projects that I did. So click on create credentials, click on OAuth client ID. So first of all we want to create a consent screen, I think, configure consent screen. So it's basically the pop-up that we are going to get and all the information that we want to have. So external, internal, you would have to put in the credit limit and all those kind of stuff. You do not need to do that. So app name, I'll just put blog mania, which is going to be the name of the blog website. You could just put anything you want. And the blog homepage for now, which is going to be localhost, and authorized domains, you could just put localhost, and just cut the HTTP right there. But anyway, you don't need it. Give me a minute. You wouldn't need HTTP. You could just say here www dot, and cut the HTTP, but it's not working. But that's totally fine. You don't need authorized domains. Okay, right here I'll say sanjaydev@gmail.com, which is my new email. So right here you do not need to do anything, just save and continue, then save and continue here as well. So back to dashboard, and now only now we want to create the credentials. Okay, so click on create credentials, OAuth client ID, click on web application and add URI. So here you just want to give a little bit of focus. You want to put the local host 3000. So this basically means that only with this particular link the Google will allow login and logout functionalities. So right now, as you guys can see, if I put local host 4000 right here and click on create and try to use it right here, it wouldn't work because this is not the port number that we are trying to access. So we want to put localhost port 3000. Also, when we host the website, we are going to put this particular link in here so that it will give the response for accepting the login and logout functionalities. So you put localhost 3000 and just localhost. That's just a normal convention. After that's done, you just put localhost 3000. Also for the redirect UI, and then you click on create. So the OAuth client is created. We get the client ID. Now obviously I'm going to delete this, guys. Don't just try to copy this and use it. Okay, let's go to application and put this in my client ID. So now if I go and check, you could see it's not disabled. If I click it, you could get this, and if I click on that, it's I'm successfully signed in. But you could see this in the console only, so you could see that all my data is right here. So you could see the profile object, which is my email, my family name, my given name, my Google ID, which is just a token. There's nothing to learn now about that. So you could also access the name. We are also going to be using the image URL and the name mostly than all the email and stuff. So right now I'll add the styling for the home page. So I'll just go and create a new folder in the source. So yeah, called styling, and inside of this I'm gonna create a styling a CSS file called home.css. okay, so there's more that we have to add right now. Yeah, so yeah, so I'll actually do it. So I'm gonna wrap the entire login message and all those kind of div inside of a give me a minute. So we want to check only if the user is not signed in, we want to give all this. So if the user is signed in, we want to give all these blogs and all those kind of stuff. Okay, so I'll control X this. I'll just copy this particular div, control X. So right here we want to do some we want to use the React stuff we did. So const is signed in will be equal to use selector and select sign in, and this is going to check if the user is not signed in. So basically, if the user is not signed in, means we want to make the user to log in. So we'll render this, or else we'll just render nothing. We're not going to actually render nothing. We'll be rendering the blog section, but we can't just put everything in one file, so we'll be using that as well. Also, when the user is signed in, we want to set the style of it so to be display of none. Okay, so the way we do it is display style equals 2 brackets and then display. So this is the inline styling. So if the user is signed in, then we want to put is none, or else you just leave it blank. Okay, so if we go to our website, it should just remain same because obviously the user is signed in now. Okay, so now that's done, we could work on style. So I just have all of the CSS here. You could copy it from my GitHub repository. So I'll paste it into my home CSS and I'll import it right here, // styling / home.css. So if now I go to the website, I should see this. Okay, so there's also one thing you could notice, there is no font. So for that, what we have to do is create a file called app.css. So inside of app.css, we are gonna have all of our basic styling. So this is going to import the font called Inter, which is an awesome font you should check out. So also here margin 0, all those kind of stuff, and body we want to set all of the fonts to Inter, and we want to import this to app.js because this is this is the file that is rendering all the components, so it will apply to all the components. So now if we go and check, you could see it's applied. Okay, so now we want to work on the navbar.js component. So it's pretty basic as well. Navbar.js. Inside of the navbar, as you guys can see on this website, let me get it right here, we have the title, and then we want to check if the user is available or not. So this is pretty basic. Okay, RAFCE, and then I'll give it a class name of navbar, and there'll be a div of navbar header. So this is, sorry guys, this is not a div, it's gonna be in h1. Inside of the h1 I'll just say blog mania, and I'll just put a random emoji here which I just had. So same here, we want to check if the user is signed in, so I'll just copy this use selector. No, I'll just do it right here. So const is signed in will be equal to use selector and select sign in. So if we want to check if the user is signed in or not, right here, if the user is signed in, what we want to render is the user's information. We want to render the user's image and all those kind of stuff. So what we could do, right now we do not have all of the stuff like the import, the response that we get from Google. We could get that once the user has logged in. So you could go to the homepage.js right here. So inside of the login, we could dispatch the function. Okay, so one easy thing you could do is create a variable called dispatch that will be equals to use dispatch. So we have a function, and we'll say dispatch, and I'm gonna say set signed in to be true. So this is the payload that we're gonna send, and dispatch also the user data that we're getting. So set the user data, so that's gonna auto import everything. So if you wait for a while, it'll auto import everything. So it's gonna set the payload to be response dot profile object. So this is not the way I am naming it, this is actually the way Google renders it. So it says profile object, so this is the entire response, and then we are getting the profile object from it. So there's that. So now we could actually go to Redux there and check if it's being set. Let me go to Redux, go to action. If I go to user data, as you guys can see, is signed is equals to true, and user data is all being set, and we are also functioning firing the reducers. Okay, so that's now done. We have access to the response and all of the user data. Okay, so right here I'll have a div called blog search. So this is going to actually contain the input, yes, the blog input. Give me a minute, guys. So right here, or else we'll just put nothing for now because we want to work on this blog search for now. Okay, so we will have an input, obviously. Then this is going to have a class name of search. We're not going to use any BEM convention for this. Search, and then placeholder will be equals to search for a blog, and then value will be equal to, now until now we didn't do the value, so let's actually do that. So this is going to be the user typing input, pretty easy as well. Input and set input value. If you're not pretty much used to hooks, I would recommend follow a basic tutorial. So let's put the use data as tech, because obviously that's the search input that we put in our Redux as well. So if we go to Redux, that is our search input default as well. So let's just put Redux right here. I'll put the value as input value, and then on change we want to set the input value to the input that the user is actually typing in. So set input value e.target.value. Okay, so just a basic input, and then we have a button. This just says search, and it's got a class name of submit, and on click we wanna run a function called handle click. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna make the API call to the blogs endpoint and all those kind of stuff. So not right now, so it's going to be in another component. So okay, if the we don't actually want this to actually do that, therefore we would not need this. Okay, so if the user is signed in, just do this, else we just don't want to do any function. Okay, we just want to leave it blank. Right after that, we also want to do another ternary operator. If the user is signed in, we wanna give the log out button. Okay, so if I log in right now in the website that is actually hosted, the working website, you could see there's an input which we made right now, and also there is a log out button. So that's what we're making right now. Okay, so there should also be the image of the user. Okay, so if the user is logged in, we wanna display the image of the user as well as the logout button. Okay, so I was a little bit confused right there. I'll say navbar user data. Okay, so inside of this, what we want to do is user avatar. Okay, so this is gonna come from material UI. So let's install material UI as well. So npm install at material-ui/core, and this is just gonna install all of the core modules from material UI. Sorry guys, it's over 40 minutes, but I already informed you guys that this will be a longer video because there's a lot of things that we should do here. So we're going to use the avatar component, avatar component from material UI, because we want the image to show up. So it's going to auto import it from material UI core. So the source is just going to be the UI, the name. Okay, so we also want to set a variable. Okay, const user data will be equal to use selector, and we're going to select user data. Okay, so we have already set the user data in our home page right here. So after that, it will fire up the use selector right here. So in search, we want to give the src, the user's image, as userdata.img. Now there's one problem. We want to check if the user is first there, right? So what we can do for that, we just put a question mark, and we put image URL, and then we put a alt in case the image is not there. We put user data if it's there, and then just the name. Right after that, we want to put an h1, yes, an h1, because we want to put the name of the user who has signed in. So let's just put signed in just for that. And right here, let's render user data, and also we'll just put a question mark in case it just has a lag when we are making the response. Okay, user data dot given name. So this is just going to be the short name of the user, first name. So there is that. And right after that, we want to render the logout component. So Google logout, logout, I guess it auto imports it from Google logout. So it's going to be the same credentials as we put right here. So I'll just copy it, copy the only client ID. Okay, I'll just put else nothing, so it will just format it for us. So Google logout, I'll just copy all of the stuff that we are doing and just explain it to you guys. Obviously this is not much required, it's just a basic component, so there's nothing there's nothing too much in it. Just put that, and it's done formatting. So we are rendering a another component here, so we need a class name. So also we are rendering the props, which is coming from Google, and the class name we are not specifying anything right here, so we'll just cut that. And log out, we just put a normal emoji. Then the button text, we wouldn't need it because we are already putting a button text here. On logout success, we just have log out. So once the user has log out, we want to fire a function called logout, which will actually set the user data to null. Okay, response, and we wanna dispatch. Okay, so we wanna const dispatch equals use dispatch. Did it auto import it? Okay, auto imported. So here we wanna dispatch set user data back to null. Okay, so now if we go ahead and just test our application, I'll just refresh it. I think there's an error. Control Shift I, I'll go to console. Okay, so it's not rendering anything. Not have signed in, and just cut this. Let's now see if it works. Let's log in with Google. Don't see the pop-up anywhere. Let's say open up the console. Okay, I'm getting the object. Let's check the Redux. Setting the user. User is there. All of this stuff are there. So guys, it was just a normal problem that we did not render navbar.js from to app. So you just render the navbar component, and inside the navbar component, now let's just continue with the logout. So we also want to dispatch another function. You just want to dispatch and say set user data. Set user set signed in, I think. Set signed in to be false. Now if we now go ahead and check log in with Google, now we could log in, could see all of this. If I click on logout, it's just gonna take us to the home page. Now that's pretty good. After that, let's just style the navbar. So let's go to the code and create a folder called navbar.css. Now I hope you guys are understanding all of the stuff that's being done. If you don't understand, let me know in the comments. I'll try to do something with it. If you have any questions, also leave them in the comments. Okay, also now let's add on the classes. Now if you notice, we did not add any classes until now to all the navbar components. We only added some of them. Let's just go check how it looks. Okay, we should import it. So let's import / styling / navbar.css, and okay, so it's working. We wanna also check one thing for the navbar component. Want to check if the user is signed in. If the user is not signed in, you want to render h1. Okay, h1 saying user not available, just to know that user is not available. Okay, just to have something with the data that we have, it would be useful, right? So not signed in, we'll just give it a name. So we'll just say user not available, and we'll just give a sad emoji. Sad emoji, or we'll just give this. Okay, so you could just see user not available, blog mania. You could click on login with Google. Once that's done, you could see the input box, the search box, the logout, all those good stuff. Also we want to give a styling, little bit of styling to the avatar. Also let me give a class name here. So what is the class name that I used? So I do have the code, guys, so you don't need to worry about all this stuff. You could also check it out in the GitHub repository, obviously. So here we got the image, then the logout button, then the import with the basic text that we had. Now what we have to do right now is to work on the blogs.js. Now this is going to be a little bit of a complex one because we're going to use, you know, fetch and all those kind of stuff. We want to fetch the data, we want to render a particular component just to render all of the blogs, and we should you know, format all of the blogs and all this kind of stuff. So I'll just leave you guys here, just you know, see all this kind of stuff that we have done, see if you could understand some stuff and just go over them, and let's just get into blogs.js. So guys, for the blogs we're going to use a API called gnews. So we're going to use this API in order to get the news, not all the news, only the news that is being filtered for our query. Okay, so we're going to use this in order to, you know, make the fetch request and all this kind of stuff. Obviously you do need a API key, so that's what we're going to be also creating. Okay guys, so now let's go ahead and create the API key. So I'll go to gnews and click on that, and I'll click on login. Okay, so if you click on login, you could, you know, sign up, all this kind of stuff. So I'm just gonna give my pre-filled, pre-saved passwords and emails. So it will take me to my dashboard and it will give my client ID. Now my client ID, I'm just gonna delete it after this video, but you should just, you know, basically sign in, and then you will be greeted with the client ID. Now I've just got, I guess, the internet connection problem. Now that's here. So you could copy this client ID. Now this is what we need, and our plan is free. So every day we could make 100 requests, and today actually we have made 65 requests. So I did this project yesterday, so I guess it will take around you can do around 25 or, you know, 35 requests. Yeah, 35 requests, extra requests. So that is enough for us. So what we can go and do is go to gnews and go to the documentation. Okay, so inside of the documentation you want to go down and copy this particular URL. Okay, that is with the search and with the token. So you want to copy that, and let's go back to our code, and you want to create a new component called blogs.js. So let's just say RAFCE, and let me just see what I have named the classes. So class name will be equals to blog page. So we will be naming it properly later, but let's just have it like this now. So first of all, we're gonna have an h1 that has a class name of blog page header, and it will say blogs. Okay, now we should also make the API requests to this you know, API, but so let's just do that now. So we're gonna be using a use effect, and we're using Axios for that. Okay, so I'll just say npm install, open up your terminal and install npm install Axios. So Axios is basically just similar to fetch, but I'm not sure, just sometimes fetch does not work in some browsers. Okay, now what we have to do is import Axios from Axios, and right here you want to get some stuff from Redux. Okay, first of all you want to get you want to get user data, and you want to get the search input. You want to get the search input will be equals to use selector, and then we're going to select user input. Yeah, that's the one. And now we want to specify the blog URL, basically the endpoint of the URL that you want to hit. So let's just say blog underscore URL. Let's just name it like that. So here we're gonna paste the link. Okay, so we want the search to be here. No, I put backticks because we are gonna input some JavaScript variables here. So for the search we're gonna put the input that the person has given, so this one. So currently there's just tech pre-filled. So if we type anything here, once we click on search, it should be taken to right here. Okay, So what we can do is we could put this as search input, and let's just close that, and API token. So let's just go ahead and take the API token once again. I just did copy it. Okay, this one. So I'll cut API token, I'll paste it right there, and just to see whether it works, let's copy it, go to Google Chrome, paste it. Okay, there was a syntax error. Okay, search input, let's just say tech. Let's see what is being written. Okay, we've got all the data that's being written, so that's good. So we got the search input as well, and that's working. Now what we have to do is we want to dispatch and send the data that we are getting from this into our Redux. Okay, so as you guys can see, use a slice, we want to set block data, so we got a reducer for that as well. So let's go to blocks.js and get dispatch, and let's say const dispatch. Now we'll be using this convention I guess for most of the videos, so it's better if you could learn it this way. Also clever programmer, they also use it this way, so I guess this is good. Guess this is an easy way to do it. Okay, so let's say blogs and set blogs. Now you could ask why can't we just set the blogs and then fetch it that way. Now that's also good, but there's like it's a two-way process. It's gonna take much time, so it's gonna dispatch and then it's gonna fetch it again. Sometimes there might be some lags or something, so we don't want that. So once we get the response, we want to set that to this hook. Okay, state. So it's gonna be use state, and that's gonna be empty for now, and then we'll put an array inside it. Also sometimes once we put in the input, as you guys can see, if I go to my real application, if I type USA, if I click on search, it's taking some time and it's saying loading until the data is changed. So for that we need a variable called loading, not a variable, state. Use state, and that's gonna be true. So currently loading is true, and once everything is done, loading is false. And now let's use a use effect. So I'll say use effect, and we want this to run every time there's a change in search input. So every time the person changes the input that is being sent through the selector, so only when we click on this it's being changed. So every time it's not gonna real time update all of this. So that is actually great, because if we type long name, it's gonna make requests so many times. So if we make a request with just a random sentence, it's gonna make a request for the length of this. So that's not what we want. So if we just say tech and search, so that's gonna be only one request made only for that. So that's pretty good as well. So use effect, we want to say Axios and then enter. Let's say .get. We want to get the blog URL, and this is an asynchronous process, so we're gonna get the response, and then we wanna set it, and as well as we wanna dispatch it. Okay, so yeah, so we wanna dispatch set blog data right here. We want to set blog data to response.data. So response.data is the usual way that Axios returns the data. We also want to set the blogs to be response.data. Okay, and right, so basically it means once the request has been made, we want to make sure that loading is false. So once the request is made, it means the data is populated, and means that the block data is filled, therefore we don't need to load again. Okay, so we want to catch an error. In case if there's an error, we'll just console.log the error itself instead of just a string. So that's pretty much it. Now we could we could go and check Redux if it works. So let's open up our Redux as well. I'll put it to the side. and I refresh. So I will not need to log in. If I go to my state, I go to block data, currently it's null. So if I click on search, okay, it's not working. So what we could do is go to our navbar, search, we have a on click handler. So on click we wanna dispatch. So sorry guys, I just forgot this. So we want to dispatch input. Okay, so let's go here. What am I exporting? So set input. Okay, we want to get that dispatch. Set input. I guess we have already imported it right here. Okay, set input to be the input value. Okay, because we already do have that. We also want to prevent the browser from refreshing, so we'll just say either prevent default, and now let's go just give it a check whether it just works. So if I click on search, go to state, user, block data. Okay, it's not working. Let's just go give it a check why it's not working. User slice, it's in blogs.js. Okay, so select user input, search input. Okay, so let's just run this once. Oh, okay, we are not rendering this component, so let's go to app.js. Also we wanna get whether the user is signed in or not. So let's say is signed in, and use a selector here and select the signed in. Select signed in. You want to check is signed in. If he's signed in, we'll just put an and here. If he's signed in, let's render the blogs component. Okay. Okay, let's refresh this, and you could see blogs. So if we go to state, go to block data, currently it's with the keyword tech in it, so we could change it to basic USA. If we change USA, you could see block data also being changed, as you guys can see here. So if I go, so how could I show it to you? Okay, so block data is being changed from pin code this to this, obviously, so you can see block data is being changed. So I could also show you, like say sports, and click on search. Right there the ID is being changed, and you could see titles being changed. And let me go to state, tree, and block data. You could see stuff related to sports and all those kind of stuff. So now it's just a matter of rendering it to the user. So this is going to be really little bit complicated. I'm not sure whether it will be complicated for you guys. So I'll just say, if it is loading, you want to render an h1 with a class name of basic loading. Let's just say loading ... else we don't want to render anything. Okay, after that we want to have a div called blogs. Now this is going to contain all of the blog divs. So this is the blogs div, which is going to contain all of the blogs div. Okay, so right here now you should have seen that once we dispatch it, we are also setting the blogs to response.data. So this blog state is being filled with all the data that is also being sent to the blogs. So this is an asynchronous process. It's gonna take some time. So what we have to do, we want to check if blogs is there. If it is there, then we want to map it, and we'll give a name of blog. And inside of this, what we want to do, so we don't want to render a separate blog right now. You could do that, that's much more beneficial, useful, and all those kind of stuff. but you know, it's pretty basic here, so we'll just have it in this particular folder. So this is not gonna work because blogs, if you just check, if I go to Redux and show you guys, blog data, if I go to articles, now the blog data contains two things. It's got total articles and articles. Now blog data is the one that's being sent to blogs. If we map that, that's not gonna work. We want to map the articles. Okay, so blogs dot articles, we also want to check if that is available, then we want to map it. Okay, okay, so blogs is there, articles, let me put like that. No, let's just do it from first. So blogs dot articles, if it is there, then we want to map it. Blog wanna, what, why is it not working? Okay, dot map blog, wanna have it right here, not anywhere else. So right here, what do we wanna map, what do we wanna render? So we wanna render the entire thing into an A tag. So we want it to be clickable, obviously. So as you guys can see right here, we are able to click it. Once we click it, it redirects to the actual blog post. Okay, so we'll have like that, and we'll also have target equals underscore blank, meaning that once the user clicks on it, it will take the user to the actual so it will take him to a new tab and then take him to the website. So we want the href to be blog.url, which is being passed on as a response to us, and we want an image that says source. The source will be equal to image blog.image, and right after that we'll have another div, because we're using grid right here, so we want, you know, two specific things. Therefore we could give, you know, display template columns and all those kind of stuff. I'll be explaining all those when we do the CSS. h3, and I'll give the class name equals to source name. So this is going to be the title and all those kind of stuff. Right here, I'll say blog dot source dot name. Right after that, sorry, I should have put name. And right after that, we want to say the time it was published at, date, and all those kind of stuff. You could format it, that's pretty good, but let's just have it like that for now. After that, h1, we'll say blog dot title, the title of the blog, and then blog dot description. Now obviously we don't want to have the description in a h1 tag, so we'll have it in a p tag, and that's the div, and that's the a tag, and that's pretty much it. Now we could go check whether it does work or not. As you guys can see, it does work. So you could see all of the blogs, but it's not styled. Now, that's not what we want. So you could see all of the blogs. Now it will only return 10 blogs because we are restricted to the free access. Okay, but you could, if you have some money to spend, obviously you could get the you know, extended version and, you know, pay for it, all those kind of stuff. But for now, let's just stick to this. So you could see, you could click this, and this is gonna take you to the actual blog posts. So that's also working, and that's in a new tab as well. Now right after that, we also want to check, in some cases, if I say just type in some random name, if I click on search, you would not get any blogs. Now obviously when it's a blog application, you don't want those kind of stuff to happen. So in that case, how we could tackle is, we have a property. So let me take Redux here. Let me open my Redux tools, maximize it, I'll get it right here. So if you see, if you go to blog data, you could see a property called total articles. So in this case, the total articles is 0. So if the total articles is 0, but it is 0 if we do have this. So let me just check, let me search, let me get the Redux developer tools. So as you guys can see, the total articles length is 0 and articles is an empty array. So instead of using the array as a property, you could use total articles, check whether it's 0, and then you want to display no blogs is available. So that's what we're going to be doing. Let's go to the code right here and let's check. First, we want to always check if blogs is available. In case there's a time delay, in case there's, now obviously this takes some time, so you could just put question mark there, and that's gonna do all the stuff for you. We want to check if blogs dot total articles is equals to 0. Now you should not put only one equals. This means you're setting the value of blogs.articles equals 0. Now you don't want to do that. You want to put double equals. Now that's going to check it if it's equals to 0. Now if it's equals to 0, we'll just put an and. Basically means that if this process is not there, we don't want to do anything. We just want to do something only for this, only for this, I'm not sure, only for this function what we want, only for that method we want to do something. We'll just put something here. Let's render an h1 with a class name of no blogs. Basically means there's no blogs here, and inside of this we'll say no blogs available. You could put anything you want. I'll just put a sad emoji and search something else to read blogs on the greatest platform. So we're just marketing it as the best one. So now if we go and check and just put a random one, if you click on search, yes, we're getting something. So we're saying no blogs available, search something else to read on the greatest. Okay, let's just put a T there, that's not a problem. So on the greatest platform. Now this is pretty much done. Now the main thing is that we wanna style that. So let's go to styling, make a new folder, blogs.css, and I've got all my CSS right here. Now it's not gonna be that much, it's just 79 lines. So if I save this, I will be just going over what the CSS is. So that's I'm not sure if that will be a problem. So blogs.css. So now if we go ahead and check, now you could see it's in a container width, it's got a width here, and it's got some text and all this kind of stuff. Now there's a little bit of a clash. You could see this and this difference. So I think I know what I have done wrong. So I should be wrapping the h3. So go ahead and check. I'll make this into a p tag because obviously for a span only. Now there's one thing, inside of an h3 only you want to render the span. If you just render the h3 and you put a background color, it's just gonna expand until here. So inside a span, if you do this and you put display inline, that's gonna work properly. Okay, so let's go over the CSS. Now for the blog page, which is going to be the entire container, I have put a margin of 30 on the top and bottom. So top and bottom right here, 30 pixels, and 170 pixels from the left and right. So we've got a padding here and here. And then blog page header, which is this, I've got a letter spacing of -1 pixel just to make it look good. Font sizing of 35 pixels because that's obviously the header right there. Now what we also can do, we could put the number of total articles available. You could also do that, but obviously we are not showing all the articles here. We're just showing 10 articles. Okay, so that's pretty much good over there as well. You could also loop over this and check the length of it and put it over here. That's also a good functionality. If you add it, let me know if you added it. Okay, so blogs. So blogs is going to contain all of the blog. Okay, so blogs is containing all of the blogs, which is an A tag. And that's display grid template columns repeat 3 1fr, meaning we want three cards in one row. We need 3 cards. Now say I turn this to 2, I'll get 2 in one row. I could also turn this to 4, which will give me 4 in one row, but obviously that's not looking that good. 3 is a good spot for that. You could also tackle with the width in order to put a lot of blogs. If you want in one row, you could also do that. So this is for the specific block, this is for an individual block. I'm going to min width of 300 pixels so that it does not shrink. So it's 300 pixels, margin auto, so that it aligns in its container. Background is white, so this box shadow, we're given a light shadow if you could see it properly. Height is 100% for its container because we have given a width for the blog right here, and height 100% for its container. Text decoration none because we have put a tag. So if we put an a tag, obviously as you guys saw, we have an underline, we have a blue underline, so that's not what we want. And color is black. Blog div, which is this the text part, only the text part, okay, the place where there's a text and the content, not the image. This is a separate div. So we've got a display flex direction column, and a padding, which is going to give a padding bottom and left and right for that. That's making it look good. Image, you want to put the width 100%. Now that's a major thing. If you don't put width 100%, it's gonna clash, it's not gonna perform well, it's not gonna look good. So we're gonna put width 100% to its container. Okay. Source name span, so that is this. So I'm gonna little bit of a purple color and then a darker purple color than this, so that's just looks good. I just got it from a Dribble design, so you could go to Dribble as well and check if those designs meet your needs and stuff like that. And this is source name p, so this is the time. You could also do a new date function that is going to format this date and give you the date, month and the year. You could do that as well. So that is a padding left, and the font size is being made short to 10 pixels. Font weight is 500, made it small as well. Source name, so this is going to be the entire thing, so the entire div, the span and the p tag. So I've displayed that to be flex, and align items in the center, align it to the center of this center of this container. Okay. Blog div h1, so blog, this is the blog, this is the div, and this is the h1 inside it. I've given a text underline, font weight, padding, font size, all those kind of basic stuff. After that, this is blog div p, so this is the blog, this is the div, this is the p tag inside it. So I made the font size a little bit smaller and the color a little bit grayish, so it just makes the text the heading stand out than the p tag. And then I've also, and that's pretty much it, that's what I've normally given. So it's pretty basic but looks clean and nice, fits to the color scheme and overall design of the website. Also for no blogs, I've given a font size, font weight and line height. Now if you do not know what no blogs is, it's just rendered when we don't have anything here. So I just made the width smaller and text weight, font weight smaller, and given a little bit of line height. Now you could also play around with this, give a error warning, or say the person to enter a proper thing, consider or recommend something. Now that's also going to be some great functionalities that you could add. So guys, now let's go ahead and host this to netlify.com. So let's go to my code right here. Now this is pretty much done. So only thing we want to do is we want to upload it to a Git repository, and then through that we want to upload it to Netlify. Okay, git init, that's going to initialize the repository, and git add dot, meaning you want to add all the files that is currently in your folder. And then we want to say git commit initial commit, and right after that you want to make a git repository. Okay, we don't need this. I'll just go to GitHub and I'll open up a new repository. So I think I should be signing in. I'll let you know after I have signed. So guys, now I'll go ahead and click on this new repository and name this blogs app YouTube. I'll make this public so that you guys can download it and get it. Yeah, so you could copy this particular one, or you could just copy this and add it. It's the same thing, obviously the same output, and it's gonna remote add origin to this particular repository, this one. So now you could push it to the master branch. So git push -u origin master, that's gonna push it to the master branch of the Git repository. Okay. Okay, now that's done. As you guys can see, branch master says set up track remote branch. That's done. As you guys can see, this is also done. Now what we can do to host it in Netlify is that we could go to netlify.com, log in, and you could log in using GitHub. So that's what I'm gonna do, and let me wait until this is done. And yep, so I'm gonna go to new git repository, and I'll search for it and I'll get back with you guys. So guys, as you guys can see, blogs app YouTube, that's what we want. So click on that. So for the build command, so this is the only thing that is changed. So you want to say ci equals and give it a space. Okay, just take a look guys. I'll just zoom in as much as I can. ci full capital, you don't want to leave any space. I'll just type it again. ci equals, and then you want to leave a space, and that's the command that you want to put there. And you don't need to put the backslash and build, it's going to be the same thing. So build ci equals npm run build, deploy site. It's going to take some time, but it's obviously going to deploy your site. So guys, as you guys can see, the website is actually deployed. So this is the name of the website and the link of the website. Now you don't want it to be infallible Jepson 7bc, all those kind of stuff. You want to click on site settings, you want to click on change site name, and you could change this into blog mania blog app. Okay, just save it, and that's going to give you the link. So if you go to site overview, that's going to leave you a link. You could click on that and it's going to take you here. Now you should note one thing, that Google authorization does not work here. Google auth does not work. So if I click on logout, it's not going to work. If you did consider and listen, or if you did know auth, you would know that we did not set this to JavaScript origins. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I've got this open already. You should go to console.cloud.google.com, which you already should have done. So you go to credentials section, OAuth 2.0 client IDs, click on edit, it's the pencil icon, and then you go to URIs, add URI, you paste in that link, and you cut the last backslash that you have. And also for the URI, normal URI, you just put in the link, you click on save, and that's gonna give you access to that Netlify website as well. Now right now itself it wouldn't work, because only now we have given access. Now there's a lot of process that it could go into. So I'm guessing it might work later. Obviously it would work because we have already given access to this. So that I also checked it, it did take some time in order to give the response, in order to log out and all this kind of stuff. So let's also, I would encourage if you guys could add a profile section to this website. Now as you guys can see, if you go to Redux, you could see user data. We are getting a bunch of data here. Now this is just sitting around. We are only using given name and we're given name and the name only. There are so many things that you could use. So you could create a profile section. So once you click on this, it's gonna take you to /profile, or you could just render a component instead. You could go to /profile, and that's gonna render your image, and then your email, your name, your given name, your family name. So that's gonna make the app look much more better if you're adding it to a portfolio, which I would highly recommend. And you could make a portfolio profile section, that would be really great. Also, if I just type tech, if I click on search, it's giving me the blog, but once I click on it, it's taking me to their actual website. Now what you could add, what I would highly encourage, if you could add it, if you got the time, once you click on it, it's gonna go to / and it's gonna give the somehow you want this blog to render as a special component in a specific page. So you want this blog to appear in your website only, in a specific, like this is the only blog that's gonna appear in the section. So it's gonna go to localhost / the blog ID, and through that you should be able to filter out the specific blog that you want and render a specific component. And you want to only show this blog. You should be able to go back and select this blog and get only that blog. So that is a good functionality as well. this was already over 1 hour, so I hope this video gave you much insight on how Redux worked, or how React you could integrate with it, how you could use Google authentication, which is pretty easy right now. You could see you don't need their custom buttons, you could make your own buttons, and this is pretty easy, I guess. I hope you guys found this helpful, found a lot of value in this, and hopefully you're gonna add it to this portfolio, make some additions, as I said, the profile section, and also separate block component. I hope you guys did find this helpful. And also I just want to say that I am applying for jobs, so as I said in my previous video, so if you know anyone who has an opening in their company, or you work in a company that has an open position for a junior front-end or React developer, let me know by shooting or sending an email. My email will be in the description down below. Also my resume and my portfolio will be linked in the description. But anyway, I would thank your support. Also subscribe to this channel, leave a like on this video, leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions. That's pretty much it, guys. So if you're done reading, you could log out, you could log in, and that's pretty good.